Hello friends, and welcome back to Sunshine and Serenity. And today we are going through our seed stock to tell you what I am going to be planting for this spring and summer garden. Now, I have a little bit of a unique situation because I am growing in the city and I am growing in a smaller space. We had planned to originally add on to the boxes that we had in our trellis system and things like that, but I don't know that we're going to be able to do that for this next year. So because I am growing in a smaller space, a lot of people who grow in a bigger space are able to grow both your cooler crops and your warmer crops because they have the space to do that. And for me, I don't really have the space to be able to accommodate both. So I'll do all of my fall and cool weather stuff now, which is what I'm doing. It's growing right back there. And then come spring and summer garden, I will focus on those spring and summer things just to make the best use out of the small growing space that I do have. But I have picked out my seeds and I'm excited to share with you what I'm going to be growing. Now I am also going to be growing a variety of herbs and flowers, and I'm dabbling in some medicinal herbs this year and things like that. But I didn't include that in these in this video because I have to kind of map out where I'm going to be planting all of my vegetable stuff and then kind of plug in my flower stuff around that and my herbs around that. So because I can't really do that until I get into the actual planning process of where I'm going to put everything, so therefore I didn't include them in this video. So if y'all are ready, let's get started. Alright, so as far as the melons go, I don't really grow a lot of melons because obviously it takes up a lot of space, and I don't really have that extra space to kind of just devote to melons and pumpkins. But I am going to grow, I'm super excited, the Kajari melon, which if you guys follow Roots and Refuge Farm, I actually found out about these through Jess, and they really enjoy them, so we're excited to try them. My kids really love melons, so I'm hoping that these are a winner and I can grow these in a smaller space and trellis them up versus having to devote a big space to a larger melon. So I'm super excited about these Kajari melons. Now the one thing I am going to grow that's cooler weather is I'm going to grow a lettuce mix, and so this I can just plug into the empty spaces that I have around where I'm going to do some of my summer stuff. So I do have room to be able to grow some lettuces. I just won't be able to grow any heading lettuces because I can't devote any space to those. But I'm super excited about growing these, and a lot of my seeds you'll see I buy from several different companies. These are from Botanical Interests. I also grow and order seeds from MI Gardener, grow from Baker Creek, and also some other companies, Mary's Heirloom Seeds, things like that. So you guys will see a variety of seeds, and that's because I order from multiple different companies, but they're all great companies and I really enjoy their seeds, and I've always had really good success rates so far with those seeds that I order from them. So check them out, support them, give them a look, and order some seeds. Okay, so I'm going to save my tomatoes for last because I had a really hard time with tomatoes because I have so many different varieties of tomatoes that I bought seeds for, and I stocked up on my seeds during the summer for the next year, so that way I would already have seeds and I wouldn't have to worry about possible seed shortages and things like that. So I already have a ton of seeds, so I ordered probably more seeds than I needed and more varieties than I needed, but I really enjoy it. So alright, so we're gonna save the tomatoes for last because I'm super excited about those. Alright, so moving on to the squashes. So we enjoy squash, and so I am planning on growing some tromboncino squash. There we go. And these are a large squash. So this is one of the few things that I'm going to be able to trellis because I don't have a lot of trellises, but the trellises that I do have, I want to devote to things that are going to be production type crops and things that I can get a lot out of. Tromboncino squash are huge. If you have not seen them, they are so massive. And so I'm excited to give it a go because it is just one of those things that you can, you know, get quite a bit from one squash. So that's one of the things I'm devoting to trellising is the Tromboncino squash. I think it's also called Rapicante too, if you find it under that name. I think that's the same thing. And then we're also going to do some butternut squash. We really enjoy this squash a lot. And then I'm going to do some crookneck summer squash, some Italian stripe zucchini, and some scallop yellow squash. Now this is a bush variety, so I can grow this in a pot, which means I can devote my garden box space to other things that need that space, whereas I can grow this in a very very large pot, and I have several of those. So that is one of the reasons why I picked this variety, because I can grow that in other spaces besides my garden boxes, so that frees up that space for other things that need that space. All right, moving on to peppers. So we're not a huge pepper family. We don't really like to eat peppers, real hot peppers. I use them in my salsa. I'll dehydrate them and ground them up into like chili powders. And then I will also freeze them to cook like in meals and things. But as far as just like eating a pepper, we don't really just eat a pepper. We're not really a pepper eating family. Like by themselves, but I am growing a few different types of peppers so that way I can incorporate them into meals and then salsas and things like that. So this first one is the Cubanelle sweet pepper. Now I grew these this year, but I didn't grow them from seed. I actually grew them from started plants that I had, and I was really impressed by these. They grew super fast. They were really productive, so I did really enjoy these. And this is a sweet pepper, and we're more of a sweet pepper family and not so much a hot pepper family, so that was one of the choices that I decided to go with. The next pepper is Craig's Grande Jalapeno. Now I do have to have a jalapeno pepper in order to do my salsas and things like that, so that's why we chose to pick those. This I've never grown. I'm super excited about that. This is the Corbaci peppers, and those are really cool. So these are a Turkish heirloom, and I'm just excited to try these because they're different, and I've heard they're pretty productive, so we'll see. And then the Arroz con Pollo, I'm probably butchering that really bad. These were a recommendation from Jess over at Roots and Refuge Farm as well. She had raved about how much she loved these peppers, and so I bought some, and I'm going to try them out and see. And then of course we have to have a couple of sweet bells, because these I actually chop up and I freeze and I put them into different recipes and things. So I have a red bell and a purple bell. And then I did an Anaheim chili hot pepper. I picked these because I can grow these and dehydrate and grind up into chili powder, and we use that in our chilies and things like that. Same thing with the paprika pepper. This is the Alma paprika pepper. Again, I'm going to dehydrate these and grind it up into the seasoning. And then the last pepper I chose was the lipstick peppers. Now these are another one that Jess raved about, and I am super excited to try them and see how we like them. So that is the peppers that we have chose to grow for this year. Okay, next up is going to be our beans. So I have heard people rave about the Dragon Tongues bush beans. I tried those this year and they did not do well for me, so I'm not sure. So I've seen mixed reviews. Some people have really great success with them. Some people have not so great success with them. I did not have success with the bush beans that I tried this year, so I think I'm just going to stick to pole beans for this next year, because I feel like they just do a lot better. They're a lot more prolific, and so that's what I've chose to go with. So this first one I've chose is the Marvel of Venice pole bean. And then the next one I'm super excited to try is the red noodle bean. Now these are, I've heard are really prolific, so we'll see how we like those. I've just loved the way they look on the trellises when I've seen them grown, so I'm excited to try that. Next up is the purple potted pole beans. Now I've heard great things about bean that it's very prolific and productive. So we'll see. I'm excited to try it. And these also are really cool because they color change. So they are purple when you grow them, and then when you cook them down, they look like a regular green bean. When you cook them, regular green. So I'm excited to try that. I think my kids will find that really fun. And then the last thing I'm going to try is the rattlesnake pole beans. Again, I've heard great things about this as well, and just pole beans in general. Bush beans just don't do well for me, or haven't done well for me this year. So I'm going to stick to pole beans, I think, next year, and then we'll see from there. And then the last bean that I'm going to grow, which is, I think, a type of bush bean. I don't know a lot about these, but I am going to try them. They're the fava beans. And I am going to try these and just see how we like them. We've never had them. Alright, next up is our okra. So I love okra. Like, I love it in gumbos. I love it fried. Like, okra is so good, but my okra plants did not, they didn't do well this year. And I think it's because I got such a late start on planting them. They just didn't take off. They didn't do well. So I'm hoping that this year they will, because I absolutely love okra. So the first one I'm going to plant that I did grow this year was the Cajun Jewel okra, and these actually did better for me than, these I think are a dwarf variety, and these actually did better for me this year than my regular okra. So I'm going to try that again next year. And then I'm also going to grow the red burgundy okra and the Clemson spineless okra. So these are the other two okras that I am going to do next year. Or, well, yeah, I guess it would be next year. Spring and summer garden. Okay, the next thing is I am going to do a few radishes, because I do have enough space that I can plug in a few radishes. So I'm going to try the watermelon radish. I've got French breakfast radishes and the China rose radishes growing right now. So we're going to get to try those and see what we think. But I definitely want to try these because I have heard amazing things about these and everybody seems to rave about them. So I really want to try them for myself and see what the rave is all about. Alright, and the last thing before I do my tomatoes, because those are probably the biggest pile of seeds, are my cucumbers. Now, I said that I don't have a ton of trellising space. Because of that, I wanted to pick a cucumber that would be prolific. I would be able to use it multi-use, and I would be able to get a lot out of one cucumber when it grows. And so because of that, I have chosen the Armenian cucumbers. Now these are actually a melon, so you can actually grow them, and you can let them get bigger into like a melon form. But I'm growing them for cucumber purposes. But I've seen them grow. They grow amazing. They grow large fruit, very productive, and they go well into the fall from what I've seen, or close to the fall rather, depending on your area. And so that is why I've chose, if I had to pick one cucumber, which I don't have a lot of trellising space, this is the one that I chose. And then the other thing that I'm going to try, because I do have a smaller trellis that doesn't take up a lot of space, is the Mexican sour gherkins, also called cucamelons. These I just think would be fun to try, see how my kids like them. It's more of just like a novelty thing, not necessarily for production and canning and putting up and things like that, but more for just the fun aspect. Because if you don't have anything fun growing in your garden, it's not going to really inspire you to get out in the garden. So I just thought these would be fun to try. Alright, and the last thing, tomatoes. So these are the tomatoes that I have chosen. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to separate these into, I have indeterminates, which is the majority of what I grow, and then I did have a few determinants that I picked out, because the determinants I can grow in like my containers versus having to have like the garden space for them, and I'll be able to spread them out more, whereas the indeterminates I grow because you can trim off the bottom limbs and kind of, you know, trellis it up to where you can grow more in a smaller space. So the first ones I'm going to start with are my determinate varieties, which are going to be my container varieties. So I'm going to do the Early Cascade tomato. I've never grown those. I'm also going to do the Gold Nugget tomatoes. Now these are a cherry variety, or a smaller variety of tomato, so I'm going to try those. The Tiny Tim tomato, the geranium kiss tomato, and the silvery fir tree tomato. Now those are all the determinate varieties that I'm going to try. Now the indeterminate varieties I'm going to do the giant Belgium tomato. These I've heard get really big and massive, and so when you're trying to get tomatoes for slicing and canning and things like that, you really want tomatoes that are going to produce well for you. And then I'm going to try the Paul Robeson tomato. I've also heard great things about those. Of course, I'm in Arkansas, so what would I do if I didn't grow the Arkansas Traveler's tomato? These are more of a canning type tomato, so of course I'm in Arkansas, so I've got to grow those, right? What kind of Arkansas girl would I be if I did not grow Arkansas Traveler? And then I'm going to do the hillbilly tomato. Y'all could make an Arkansas hillbilly joke. Go ahead in the comments. And then I'm also going to do Dr. Witchy's yellow. I have seen these grow, and they grow massive fruits, and they are amazing. So I'm going to try those. Same thing with the triple crop. You know, you've heard Jess on her channel call these the climbing triple crop. So these are really productive. So I am going to try those. I'm excited. The Hartman's yellow gooseneck tomato. And then the blueberry tomato. So these are a blueberry cherry variety. My kids love cherry tomatoes, or my son does. My daughter is not a tomato gal. And the Kellogg's breakfast tomato. So those are the seeds that I have selected to grow. Now I may pull things to plug in here and there if I have room for maybe a couple of broccolis or, you know, things like that. But like I said, I do have a smaller growing space. I'm growing in the cities, so I don't have a ton of beds and a ton of space to grow. So therefore, I kind of have to devote the majority of my space to the season, if you will, so the spring and summer. And then, of course, in the fall and the winter, I do a lot of my root crops and my cooler crops and things like that. So for me, it's more of a seasonal thing. I have to do spring and summer and then fall and winter versus being able to do cool weather and warm weather in both seasons. So I have to rotate out like that, so I have a good amount of space, so I utilize that space well, and I'm able to grow a large amount of our food in a smaller area. So anyways, thanks for joining me, guys, as I have chosen my seeds for the spring and summer, which I will be starting in January. Oh my gosh, y'all, can y'all already believe it's almost the end of the year? I know I'm ready for a new year. Are y'all ready for a new year? I am totally ready for a new year. But it's hard to believe that we're already well into the fall garden and even thinking about the spring and summer garden, right? And starting seeds again. Like, it's crazy. I feel like I just started seeds for the fall and winter, and now I'm starting seeds again for the spring and summer. But I love this life. I wouldn't choose anything different. It is amazing. I truly enjoy gardening and what God has blessed my family with, and enjoy learning the skills that I have this year in this season. As hard as it has been on many people, I am just blessed in all that God is showing me and teaching me and molding me through the process. So I am so grateful that you guys chose to hang out with me. If y'all hung all the way to the end, congratulations, y'all are amazing. And if you will hit that subscribe and like button so that more people can see my videos, that would be amazing. And I hope you guys have a blessed day. It is overcast here, which is actually a nice break from the hot sun that we have gotten, considering we haven't gotten consistent fall temperatures yet, which I am so wanting. Fall is my favorite, and I feel like we kind of get shortchanged every year, but that's okay. That's okay. God's got a plan, you know, even if it's not, you know, cool weather for a extended period of time. But as always, thank y'all for hanging out with me. I enjoyed getting to hang out with you guys, and until we see each other again, y'all have a blessed rest of your week, a blessed Thanksgiving. Enjoy time with friends and family and eating all that good food, and truly reflecting on being thankful for what God has given us and done for each and every one of us, and just spend that time with loved ones that are so important to you guys, because you can't get time back. So I love y'all. Until next time, bye friends.